A school student, I was once told that I could not speak to save my life, and it took me a while, a few years, to understand the real meaning of that statement. Initially, it was very hurtful. I lived with the victim card for many years.
We are putting a lot of energy into what we say, but then are we being understood? That's been completely missed. People often confuse effective communication with just mere exchange of information. How do you captivate? How do you catch the attention? Ads are being created with a hook. LinkedIn posts are written with a hook to captivate. And the same thing you ought to do when you speak from any platform.
Hey, greetings. Welcome to your show, Manage Better. This is episode number 86. It is often said that communication, or at least effective communication, is what lands, not what launches. You may want to say something, there might be something in your mind, in your heart, in your body language, but it all depends on what the receiver receives. But most of us, including me, have struggled with this. We think that we have said something, we have communicated, we have delivered what we wanted to say, and our job is done. हमारा काम हो गया. But that's not how the world works. At least if you want good outcomes from your conversations. If you want to just a tick mark thing, a checkbox thing, then that's fine. But that's no way of getting things done. A little bit about my story, and then I'll come to this episode. The school student, I was once told that I could not speak to save my life, and it took me a while, a few years, to understand the real meaning of that statement. Initially, it was very hurtful. I lived with the victim card for many years. Then I realized that, okay, I'm no longer in school. I'm not getting any better by sulking. And at that time, there was nothing called a public speaking coach, though I did find somebody who could help me. And over the years, brick by brick, I kept working at it. And in some years' time, I got better. Still work in progress. I still shiver and shudder when I have to walk up the stage. So, hello, friends. My name is Anshuman Tiwari, and this is your show, Manage Better, episode 86. Today, we will dive deep into public speaking and effective communication and learn something that you don't know, or we will reinforce something that you already know, which is also important. And my guest today is Devas Gupta. Devas is one of India's leading public speaking coaches, excellent at effective communication. And the best thing I liked about him is that he actually lives what he says. So his own style of effective communication, public speaking, is uniquely his. He brings everything that he teaches to his own work, and that makes him extra special. If you check his YouTube channel, he's some 250,000 subscribers. On LinkedIn also is quite popular. And recently on at Linkfluence, which is India's leading and first LinkedIn first creator program, that was held at Lovely University in early in December. We were both at stage. That's how I got to know of Divas, and I'm a fan.
Thank you so much for having me, Anshuman. And as you
And
mentioned about Linkfluence, it was indeed one of a kind. The experience out there and sharing a stage with you, listening to your wisdom brick by brick, makes a profound impact on everyone's mind.
so, my audience, you can already see why Devas is on the show today. He's been on the show for 30 seconds and he's already looking better than me. Right? So this is the power of effective communication. And he coaches thousands of people and has spoken at all top organizations, many in Fortune 500. So you don't get better than this. And I'm grateful, Devas, that you could find time to go live. Recording is a little easier option, but I thought if somebody claims to be a communications coach, then let me grill him live.
Why not? Why not? And I've always loved your sense of humor. I mean, we had this even at Linkfluence where there were a lot of young creators, and we had the youngest creator in form of Anshuman Devari, who was adding a blend of his experience. And you could not help but just listen to this man with his experience. And I did mention to him that there are a lot of people who will have information, and you're someone who has knowledge because he has applied that information, he is living it. And that's where the depth like comes in whenever he shares his piece of wisdom. So thank you so much. It's a
Thank
like
you.
honor to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Divas. That was all that I will allow you to say about me. This is my show. You are the guest. So the roles are now reversed.
All right.
The way the show is constructed is that we have a conversation around some key themes about public speaking, effective communication, and the likes. And it's not very academic. I am looking for practical tips and what have you learned over the years? What are you teaching others? Those kind of things. That's the general format. So no set rules. And
Perfect.
very often I allow the guest also to ask me a question if something comes up. So you can use that pass once in the show.
All right.
Okay.
I'll hold
So
it till the end.
yeah, up to you, up to you. First up, I mean, I think the way I started the this show, this event, and I've long felt that communication is all about how it lands, not how you launch it. And of course, it's a wordplay, but you can say it in different ways, and many other speakers have also said it in the same way. I've for long believed in this. What is your take on something like this? In the particularly because you speak to a lot of people and coach a lot of people individually and in groups and so on. So, do you see this happen? Is it a issue? Are we overstressing it? Any views on this?
No, I wouldn't not say that we are overstressing it. This is something very important. We are putting a lot of energy into what we say, but then are we being understood? That's being completely missed. People often confuse effective communication with just mere exchange of information. That my job was to sensitize my team to share a piece of information with my team members, with my clients, and all. Whether they have understood or not, nobody gives a thought. And that's where I bring in the two aspects, emotion and the intention. Many a times there are misunderstandings. Why? Because you might say that there was my intention wasn't to say that, but the way the person received it, he doesn't understand me. Probably because the way you said it, the message was very clear, but the way you said it. So I would agree that being understood is the most important component for effective communication.
Cool. I think that you've added a flavor, being understood. And this actually comes from, people seeing communication, all of us at some point. I'm sure you, when you started out, at least I, when I started out, yeah, communication was a checkbox activity. I have to do this job. Somehow I have to pick the phone and speak to this, particularly if the conversation was a little uncomfortable, awkward, or difficult, or a combination. I remember the first, regular job, and after a couple of years of engineering and my MBA in '98, I took my dream job with Kimpro Consultants, and that was all I wanted. And the first day I get, and these were days of printed, you know, contact list. So there's no mobile, no no computer based calling or anything. I
Mhm.
got this thick sheet of paper or a ream of paper, which had quality managers of all companies that were
Mhm.
on our contact list. My job, and there was an event coming up, and my job was to cold call everybody and invite them to the event, and also encourage them to buy some tickets.
Mhm.
And I still shiver at that
Mhm.
moment because it took me almost a couple of hours to pick up the phone and finally make the first call, and I was terrible at it. So I understand completely when you say being understood, and that was the broad intent of the question.
Mhm.
Before we go ahead, Divas, I did check quickly that the show is live also on your feed.
Oh,
So
yes.
that experiment we did worked out, right? So it does work. Okay, just diving deeper into this, and this may be true for many people in India, and we are both from a region where English is definitely not a preferred language growing up. I did study in a proper English speaking school, but English was never the language of choice,
Mhm.
and it took some time. So for us
Yes.
growing up, it was always that if you can speak a reasonable, you know, smattering of English, then ho gaya kaam bas,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
of course the motivation when you are in school and college to speak English is different, but
Yeah.
as you get into your job, it is different.
Yes.
So you coach people who are actually already employed or are looking for getting further in their career, or just plain and simple Toastmaster style getting to speak better. How important speaking in English is even now, as we stand today in 2023. where do you stand on this? The need for English as a key pillar of effective communication.
So, Anshuman, if I have to gather sympathy, gather votes, gather emotions, I'll say there is no need to speak in English. There's no need to learn this language. You are good with your like native language. I get that. It is a business requirement. I mean, if your organization functions in a way where you can like, talk to each other in your local language, perfectly fine. However, if you plan to work for an MNC where you have to interact with global clients and people from different parts of the country, over there it's just a medium of communication. The problem is that when we were growing up, English became a status symbol, that if you know how to speak in English, you are superior. If you do not, then you are like nobody. And that's what impacted our confidence, our self esteem. And the moment we see someone who can speak really well, we just step back and had this fear, nervousness, anxiety. Else, I strongly believe that each and every one of us can speak in front of anyone if given a chance to speak in their own language. So, apart from the business requirement, also that depends on company to company, place to place where you're operating from. It's not mandatory to learn English. If you plan to work in different parts of the world, then yes, it's an added skill. It is not, I would say that, oh my God, this person is like amazing. So there should not be much of hype around it. Yes, we were a victim of imperialism, and we had the Britishers who made us feel that, you know what, without this, you're not worth anything. And that was their way of ruling us. However, now we are much more evolved in terms of our own self worth, and that should be the driving force than just being feeling bogged down because of what we were seeded with when we were growing up in our 1990s or maybe the early 2000s.
Awesome. I think you brought a different angle to it, Divas, that the I didn't think of it this way, but thank you for bringing the word superior into it. That sometimes that becomes an angle. And yes, these days it is quite popular on, particularly on social media, to claim that this is not important. I do feel I've worked most of my life, working life in global organizations, and I do believe that a working knowledge of and reasonable fluency in English is important. I have seen many a career derail, and I will mince no words. I have seen many a career derail because of their inability or unwillingness to get better at spoken English.
Right.
I've worked in organizations which have, even now I have people in 22 countries. So, if you don't have a common language, how do you operate? So, a key piece of effective communication certainly is language. It is
Mm,
not the most important one, but your ability to communicate and most importantly maybe think also in that language is important. Of
right.
course there are nuances, like if you're speaking to very, I would say, people with English as a reasonable disadvantage, you speak slowly, you make sure that you don't rush up things and all those things. But we will not get into that. That is, I'll save it for another day. But getting a little deeper into this, the little that I saw you, and that was enough actually in Linkfluence on stage, right? So we met and interacted quite a bit, but everybody is a different person on stage. We like
Mm,
to say that we are the same person in every setting, but
no.
actually, when all of us go to stage, we are different, and we put up a personality or a persona, which is the stage persona, right?
Yes.
I also do that. Everybody does that, and hopefully, it is not very different from who we are, but we like to do that. And the word that when I saw you, the word that came to me was like, you are emoting with your body, literally. You are you speak with an intention, may not be an intention, but at least the delivery is that you captivate. So is that an intentional thing? How do you develop this intention to captivate, or at least effort to captivate? I'm sure it did not start this way for you, and I know a little part of your story. So, would you like to share a little bit? And it's an inspirational one. So, I'm maybe pushing you in a corner a little bit and asking you to
Not at
share
all.
something which you may not want to. But let's hear the Divas Gupta story of how he became
So
the the
had
famous
you
one.
asked me, yeah, had you asked me about my story a few years back, I would have been pretty hesitant that should I share it or not. And then I came across the power of vulnerability, where you speak and you share what you have been through, what you feel about yourself. And the moment you do that, you feel a lot more relaxed. Now, what's that story? I have been a stutterer all my life. In Hindi, we call it as haklana, haklu likha jata hai, where you can't even speak your name properly and you get stuck. Now, people often confuse like fumbling with stuttering. And they say, there was even I stutter. I'm like, you don't understand what is like stuttering. He said, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, when someone asks that, okay, what's your name? You might say your name that my name is XYZ or my name is Anshuman Tiwari. I would say my name is gone. I would get stuck at the, because the sound was explosive sound, and my physiology did not support me to speak in that manner. My brain wiring was such that I could not speak fluently. And you can guess what happens. I mean, we have seen a lot of Bollywood movies where people who stutter, they are being mocked, and I was mocked in the real life. So yes, I was never that speaker the way world sees me today. I learned this skill. So a reminder for everyone out here that all those who think that, hey, you know what, he's a born speaker, it's a myth. Only babies are born. Speakers are not born. It's not a talent, it's a skill. It's not something which you're born with. And you need to remind yourself, else you miss opportunities. I was losing a lot of opportunity just because I thought that I was not born that way. Some people are born with that edge. They are natural. No, it's not. It's just a skill which you can learn. And when I learned from the best speakers in the world, I observed something unique about them. It's not just the choice of words. I mean, today, if I give the same script, that okay, Anshuman, you go with the same script, I go with the same script. We can see a big impact in terms of how I deliver using my hands, expressions, voice. The impact is different. I mean, for today, it's about like communication for impact and influence. We do communicate every single day as a leader, as a manager. You do communicate with your team members, but what is the intention? Intention is to influence them. And influence does not mean being an influencer, that oh my god, he has followers, he has subscribers, that's what's an influencer. No, you're a leader. You influence your team members on an everyday basis. Your conference calls, one conference call for 1 hour can make the person feel like, oh my god, where am I? Other ones are, oh my boss is so inspiring the way he sounds. He has given me a task, he has appreciated me, that yes, great job, versus good job, Devas. Big difference. Big difference, right? So the way you impact can make someone's day. Else he's like, the boss did not mean those words. And we human beings are very smart in understanding whether that person meant it or not. So that's where the emotion and the intention comes into play. So yes, it's a skill that I have learned, and it's a responsibility. Not even I would say that you may try it. It's a responsibility of any speaker, any leader, be it from stage, be it off the stage, that you speak with an intention to captivate. There's a lot of noise. We're on social media. We see there are a lot of noise, a lot of video, a lot of stuff is there. How do you captivate? How do you catch the attention? That's important. If you see, ads are being created with a hook. LinkedIn posts are written with a hook. Why? To captivate. And the same thing you ought to do when you speak from any platform. That's a goal. It's a responsibility, not even an option, rather.
I
I
am
can't hear you.
captivated now. This is a demonstration, of course, for the audience. Of course, the question was only about your story, but you brought the story, you took it to a lesson and shared something that people can use. And that's a lesson in itself in the last 2, 3 minutes that you spoke. Because I was watching carefully as to how you are constructing your response and delivering it at the same time. So uh, I would urge the audience to learn from this because this is how improve. And I could relate to your story. I'm not that I had any physiological issues, but I had huge confidence issues, and I would physically shiver. I remember back in school, even before the famous story that I've shared many times, where I was told that, I can't speak to save my life. Even before that, once I was asked to come and share the news, daily news on stage, and we had a big school, maybe 1,000, 2,000 students, a lot of students. And it was only 10 points, and I was good with general knowledge, so it was expected. I was that, okay, what is happening around, so 10 points hai, you newspaper comes before school, copy करके बोलना है. So it was like this sheet of a paper, one sheet of a paper with 10 points, and I couldn't get to third point. So, and I was shivering, shuddering, and stuttering, whatever, fumbling, all combination of everything. And because of me, the vice principal, who had shown great trust in me, was literally, admonished. And that has stayed with me forever. Because of me, somebody who trusted me. So each time I practice, I still think of that incident and say that, thank you. I did share a little bit about my, I won't call it struggle. It's a common story for everybody growing up. So I've never really paid much attention to it. A lot of people had these kind of struggles. But you coach a lot of people who have difficulty in coming to stage in public speaking, and that is an important aspect of impact and influence. Impact and influence is an outcome. So we first have to get to the stage, and then use your 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever is the time allocated, to make that impact and influence. Or what do you see with people who have difficulty going onto the stage, facing a audience? Any tips for them that they can calm themselves down? I mean, imagine a typical scenario. There was that somebody like me many years ago, going upstage, struggling, can't speak, can't stand, can't face people. I'm sure you see many of these people. What are your common tips or general tips? Of course, if somebody wants specific input, they can come to you directly.
Mm.
But general tips for such people?
So, one being that the data set you refer. Now, you said that there was, if you had to give me tips, maybe to my younger self, what would that be? Today, you don't need those tips because you have a data set which you refer that, yes, there was, I know what I'm talking about. I have spoken on stage before. So, I have a data set to refer. The problem is that when people go on stage, they focus on the audience and not on the message. Now we have been told that, okay, look at the audience. I'm like, okay, fine, look at the audience, but the focus is on your message. So when I am on stage, imagine if it's a jam-packed auditorium, a lot of people out there, but still in front of my eyes, not on a paper, anywhere in front of my eyes. My focus is on what I have to say. My belief is on what I say, and that's the only thing which I focus on as a beginner, because the moment you start focusing on the response of your audience, maybe someone is laughing at you, someone is talking to each other, someone passes any comment, you take it personally that, oh no, this was about me, that he laughed at me, maybe there was something which he found funny, so not taking it personally. Moreover, when you focus inwards, as in what is happening inside of you, you will be paranoid because you will have some sensations. Your cheeks would go red, you will dissipate heat from the ears, your throat would go dry, there'll be a sensation in your stomach. So if you start focusing on your body, you will again feel, oh my god, I should leave this place ASAP. How do you hack this? You go for a physical activity before showing up on any stage. Now, what does that mean? I would just jump for 30 seconds. Now, this might sound weird that really, but yes, motion leads to emotion. When we show up for any interview, any presentation, any meeting, we just walk, stand behind the podium, blabber for the next few minutes, and then disappear. Your energy, your peak state of energy will only be there when you are in a state of motion. So lock yourself in the washroom for 30 seconds, do something, move, relax. You'll be in a state of energy, and that state of energy will be reflected when you show up on stage. One last thing which you can do is the use of affirmations. I still use it when I go for any online session or an offline session. I would remind myself of my greatness. We have been fed with a data set, as I was mentioning earlier, because of our conditioning, because of our childhood, because of all those voices that we have heard while growing up. Maybe your friends, your colleagues, your family members would have like taunted you, would have like, criticized you, and those words stayed with you. I would just change those words and ask myself, who am I? And I would remind myself, yes, I am great, I am a champion. Not just mere words, but I really internalize these words. So the focus on internal communication. And as a beginner, these things are like good to go with.
Awesome. I think that physical activity one was quite an eye opener. Though having seen you on stage, you were continuing to do that physical activity on stage as well because you were moving around quite a bit. And but it worked because one thing
Yeah.
I figured out that you were the only speaker who actually connected with the entire audience because from right to left uh, and depth wise as well. And that was a lesson I carried that day. So that brings one question quickly. While addressing a large audience or teams, should we use less fancy words? And in the on the same lines but slightly different, how do you address these? How do you address diverse audience? Diverse as in maybe language wise, like huge variation in understanding of the vocabulary, like maybe Hindi or English. I remember you asking me before the show, is this a bilingual show? That was a very important question from you because my shows are primarily in 95% English, but not that I can't speak in Hindi, but the show is meant for multiple wide ranging audience. So we respect that. But anything on joining these two questions, both are talking about large
Sure.
audience. One is about talking about vocabulary, the other is talking about the bilingual part.
Sure. Let's understand. We've been live in this conversation. Were you able to understand Anshuman and I was understood? Yes. The language was like pretty like conversational. The words that we used were not picked from Dr. Shashi Tharoor's vocabulary, and we were understood, right? It does not make me a superhuman being, a godly figure. If I used a fancy word, it does not make me superior. Again, some of us think that ways. It's just about how much familiar you are with certain set of words. For example, right now the kind of words I use, the kind of words I use, these 6 words are basic for you. But if you ask someone, maybe if I ask someone who has never been to an English medium school, who has never learned this language, like, oh my God, what did he say? What did he say? So it's about your current level that, okay, you find this as superior, as fancy, whereas what you use on a daily basis, that becomes normal. If you ask those people who use those fancy words on a daily basis, that's normal for them. Have you observed that? When you look at any like celebrity, like giving an interview, they speak so smoothly because that's how they talk on a daily basis. So it is not about that certain set of words will make you superior. Focus is on being understood. If you think that your listener is able to understand that kind of language, please use it. Nobody is holding you back from using the fancy words. However, if you see that your audience does not understand those fancy words, or you need to break it down into the words which they understand. It's about them, right? Your message has to be understood. You feel, oh my God, look at me. I use these words and this word. And they were like, oh my God, what did he say? The reality is they're like, what did he say? So you have to be understood. One more thing, Anshuman, as you said that you learned about covering the entire stage from left to right because
Mm,
everyone has paid for it. That's how it works.
correct.
So people only focus on those who are in the like front row and just look at them, and they forget that there are people in the corners as well. So again, as a leader, it boils down to the lesson of leadership that you value everyone. So when you look at
Yeah.
everyone, address everyone, take them into consideration, that's what makes you a better leader as a communicator as well.
One more question. Let's take. The questions today are very insightful, so I will prefer those. Could you suggest me some hacks to structure the thoughts properly if you struggle with it. Any tips or insights that you may have?
It's about a framework. Framework always helps. One of the most common and most popular and most appropriate and most impactful is the PrEP framework, PREP. So, what does that mean? For example, if I ask you, how was this conversation between Anshuman and I? That's the question asked. Say, yeah, it was nice, it was good. You may answer in just like one word. How about you apply the structure of PrEP? How? P stands for your point of view. That, in my opinion, it was a great show. I love the insights. That's it. In my opinion, it was blah, 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 blah. Whatever your opinion is. The second is R. You give reason. Because the moment you say that it was great, people want to know that why do you say that? The reason why I say this is because the kind of insights Anshuman gave from his experience, the kind of impact or energy like Divas had in this session could be anything, completely up to you. That could be another reason. Step is example. You might quote that in middle of the conversation, Anshuman talked about this, which really made me think that yes, even I do something similar. Or what I heard from Devas around stage communication made a profound impact that I'll be using it the next time I go on the stage. That's an example, right? And then the fourth step is again P. So, in my opinion, it was a great conversation. I look forward to be a part of Manage Better show in the future as well, because the kind of insights we get in this show are great. So when you have the prep framework clear in your head, you will never go haywire. I hope that helps.
It sure does. I'll take one more question. Zahoor Ahmed Khan, how to consistently improve step by step? So he's asking about the brick by brick approach to improving your communication. This was asked when you were talking about the public speaking part. If you can break it into basic, intermediate, advanced kind of thing.
How do we improve? Let's ask ourselves. We have been taught back in our childhood that practice in front of the mirror, and mirror never lies, mirror does lie. Because over there you might feel good about yourself, but the moment you leave that place, it's gone. And that's where I say that to improve, you need to document your journey. What does that mean? Recording yourself on your mobile phone. That's the best way as of this age. Every single day, you pick up your smartphone and speak for a minute or 2 minutes. That's it, right? Once you have done that, you listen to the audio. You listen to the audio, how you spoke. Were there any fillers? Were there any variation in the voice? Were you sounding flat? You know it for yourself, right? Then the next step, you lower down the volume and just look at the body language. That, okay, my hand gestures, expressions, eye contact, all of that. And third, you increase the volume and you see the entire video in entirety. Now, this gives you insight that, okay, on day one, these are my gray areas and I need to work on this. Set a goal that, okay, for tomorrow's video, my only focus is to smile. Don't even care about my hands, my voice, chuck it off. My only focus area is smile. Day two, you have another focus area. Maybe this day I'll just sound with a lot of energy. That's my ultimate goal. Sound with energy. And then day three, day four, there are a lot of aspects in your voice, body language that you can focus on. You would observe when you compare your video from day 1 to day 7, day 14, and so on, you would see improvement every single day. The challenge is that people are looking for that quick pill. They must give me some tip, some hack that I just take it and I just perform like a star. It doesn't work that way. Every master was once a disaster, and every person starts from zero. As I said, it is not a talent, it is a skill. And to learn any skill, you need to start from the scratch. And one thing I would recommend, you take professional help. You can see by yourself or ask your friends if they are like qualified. If not, then look for someone who can give you that feedback to improve. That'll help you.
Cool. I was thinking, Divas, when you were speaking about this camera thing, is that, and for the longest time, I've never understood why should I look into a mirror, because I'm looking into the mirror and I'm seeing myself, right? I'm not seeing it from the point of view of the audience. But when somebody is recording me or I'm using my own camera, I'm seeing myself as the audience hopefully will see. So that perspective is extremely important. That mirror thing is actually quite ridiculous. I don't know how and when it came. It probably hasn't helped anyone. But glad that you brought up that audio, video, and then the combination that helps. Anything for calming the butterflies in the stomach. I'll tell you what I do. I walk very slowly. You might have
Mhm.
noticed that difference as when I walk up. I actually walk slowly to the stage. It of course has a dramatic impact on the audience as well, as if I am going to speak something very profound, which is usually not the case. But I walk and I look for a water bottle, and I have a routine that I try and place the water bottle on the floor, on the podium, on the lectern, somewhere, and that gives me another 2 3 seconds, by which time I usually find that my heartbeat, my breathing is in my control. And then always start with speaking to the audience. Always. Even if I have 3 minutes to speak, I will spend 30 seconds talking to the audience. I don't know why. This is over the years. This is set routine. Of course, many times I don't have a bottle, so I use my glasses. I will keep it somewhere. I will just gain that extra 2 3 second on the stage.
Let's ask ourselves that why are you having butterflies in your stomach? And I'm sure that you have the same feeling when you go for an interview as well. Probably because of what you have said to yourself. You have said to yourself that what if I go blank? What if nobody like listens to me? What if they laugh at me? What if the interview like rejects me? You see, the what if part is making you feel, oh gosh, how will I face myself? Whereas when I accept it, that it's okay if I go blank, it's okay if someone laughs at me, it's okay if I don't sound incredible as I thought back in my head, it's okay. You give yourself permission to make mistakes. It's not a performance, fortunately. You're not going for an Oscar winning speech. Even if you go for it, even if you make mistakes, you're not a robot who has been programmed, who has been fed that you ought to speak without any hiccups. It's fine, right? As a human being, I am driven by my emotions. You ask yourself, how is like communication impacted? It's impacted because of your emotions, right? Think about it. When your emotions are like really high, you're very happy, automatically the game changes. When you are really sad, your body language reflects your low energy and your posture. Everything goes down when you are feeling sad. So it's the emotion that is driving your body language. I would say, hey, it's a great opportunity for me to share my thought. Just think about it, right? Whenever I go on stage, I'm like, I am helping people. This is what can help you. When I focus on that person, empathy automatically like comes in, that I'm concerned that what should I say, how should I say, so that the person at the other side will receive it. So when you go with this mindset, you are not feeling low, rather you are going as an authority, as someone who has worked on his craft, who is sharing his wisdom and is indirectly helping someone. You in your head feel a lot better, a lot more confident, with a higher self-esteem. When you are scared, when you are nervous, when you say that, oh my god, there's a like lion behind me, that feeling of being attacked makes you like sweat. The moment I say it's okay, right, I need to focus on what I can control than what I cannot control. So when you're standing on the stage, you cannot control the response of the audience. You can control what you know, and that should be a focus area.
Awesome. I've been invited to some very prestigious talks, and every time I'm invited, I think that they have made a mistake. I'm not deserving. And what will I do? One big example is I was once invited to speak to the top management team at ISRO. and ISRO had launched Chandrayaan. This was some years ago, so it had still not landed. And I was like, man, they have made a mistake. I have nothing that I can talk at ISRO. Then I told myself that they have made a choice. The risk is theirs. I do what I do, and I am going to do what I do. And it was one of my better talks across my career because, of course, once I told myself that having made that choice, the risk is theirs. I didn't force myself upon them. And that I found very, very useful to overcome that imposter syndrome, so to say.
True. Surprisingly, we underestimate our potential and overestimate someone else's potential, not valuing our backstory, not valuing where we are coming from. For me, whenever I'm on stage, I look at my journey, that where am I coming from? What have I been through? And today, if
Mm.
I'm standing here, and that becomes my reference point. Yes, there are people who are better speakers than me. I'm going to get inspired from them. And it's fine. But today, if I'm here to share my voice, I'll share through my experience. And that is something very unique about you.
You earlier spoke about affirmations of some kind. This is also one type of affirmation that
In a way,
we are
yes.
here because we have already done something to belong here, to be invited. And that's enough. We don't need extra validation at that moment. Talking of better speakers, who are the speakers globally that you learn from or get inspired from? And some names that are probably active on social media so that people can go and follow them as well and learn from them. Any names top of the mind, two, three?
Yeah, one of my favorite and a good friend, David Phillips from Sweden. This is like one gentleman whom I would recommend. I have watched his videos. I have been to his place, and this man is a gem. I mean, he's someone who has genuinely done his research, not the average public speakers whom we see popping up here and there. But then he's someone who knows, who understands the science behind how to speak in a
Mm.
way. So that's like one person whom I really look up to, and a great human being at heart.
Good. So if somebody asks me this question, I am taking your name.
Perfectly. I'll like send the check to your name, sir. Don't worry.
I actually did check your YouTube channel and I said, man, this man is giving everything free. So what is he charging for? So must be something extra special. So those who want that extra special can go to that charge session. I did want to ask you about a little bit about non-verbal communication for effective communications, generally called body language, but it can be more than body language. Anything on that so that people can at least appear more confident or put the right foot forward, Divas?
Sure. Number one, why is it important? Because when you show up for any presentation anywhere, people look at you first and then they listen to you. When you talk about what people see, it's your posture. Your shoulders pulled backwards, your chest outwards. That's the posture. Some of us will have hunch, and it's perceived that this guy is not confident at all. Again, a game of perception. Second, eye contact. A lot has been like talked about it. You look at everyone as you walk up on the stage. You look at everyone from left to right, right to left, and smile. Right. It shows that yes, this person is not underconfident. Else, there are people who will walk up on the stage and try to look at the roof or sideways or floor or scratch their nose or play with their pen or check out the time or adjust their clothes. And it's clearly visible that you're not comfortable, right? So, looking at people and a smile gives a signal that this person is really comfortable in his or her skin. Now, understand that the learners are of different types: auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. And if you think that just standing behind the podium where your bottom half is not visible, and it kind of saves you, because if your legs are like shivering, nobody gets to see that. So people like prefer to stand behind that podium. I would say stand in the center,
Mm.
and that shows authority. Again, as a leader, you're not a leader based on your like designation. That's what you have earned because of your experience. When you speak from stage, it positions you as a leader. When you step in the center and look at everyone with an open, what? Hi, everyone. One of the gentlemen I was coaching, 48 years of age, a CXO of an organization, multi-billion dollar company. I said, sir, you're terrible at the way you speak. He said, really? I'm like,
Mm,
you are terrible. He
mm.
says, why do you say that? How can people listen to you? He says, no, Devas, whenever I have been on stage, people have been clapping for me. And you're the first person who says this to me that I'm a terrible speaker. Sir, the people who are clapping for you, they are your team members. Yes. Yes. They're juniors. Yes. Yes. And he had a bulb on moment that they were clapping for his designation that, oh, boss, what a job, sir. What a performance, sir. What a performance. So your body language speaks a lot about you.
I call that prepaid claps. Divas, thank you very much.
Thank
Fantastic
you.
conversation. Your gravitas and the hold on the topic also. I must compliment that. Thank you
Thank you.
for doing what you do. You are helping a lot of people. To my audience, you can thank Divas by following him on LinkedIn and also check out his YouTube channel. And if you have slight love left, my channel is not that bad. Or you can follow me as well. I also share tips around mid-career issues. And those who are from an operational excellence background may already know me or can actually look forward to some tips on that. I'll let everybody go. Thank you very much. And thank you, Divas. More
Suman,
power to you. And
more power
we
to
will
you
be.
as well. And the way you've been like managing it, managing better every day makes a big difference. I've been managing my energies like really well, and like learning from you and your like, presence makes a big difference. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks. Means a lot. Thank you very much. Bye bye.